Alright, so we're going to start by folding this paper in half. So we have two even kind of smaller landscape portions. I'm going to go ahead and just draw a line here so it's easier to see. And I'm going to zoom in to one section here so we can focus on this area. Alright, so we are going to be making a little room here using 1 point perspective. So we're getting back to space. Frank Lloyd Wright was an architect, so my goal for this week was to start space and looking at perspective drawings seriously. So we're going to create a little room. So the very first thing that we're going to do is make the back wall of the room. And it doesn't have to be perfectly centered. Just try and make sure that your lines are parallel to the edges of your paper. Okay? So it's going to just kind of look like a floating rectangle. And you can try and get it as centered as you can, but if it's not perfectly centered, it's going to be just fine. What's most important is just getting those vertical lines vertical and horizontal lines horizontal. So you want to make sure that this back rectangle wall area is big enough, tall enough, so that we can put some objects up against that wall. But you also want to make sure there's enough space on the sides as well. So we have some wall space to put things on these side walls. Okay? Everything we're going to draw lightly because we're going to start by drawing the vanishing point and the wall lines, but we might place furniture or something to kind of cover some of those up. So try and use light lines so that they're erasable. Let's go ahead and imagine if we were standing in this room, where would the vanishing point be, which is basically your viewpoint. So I'm just going to put a vanishing point. I'm not that tall. I'm not that tall. Maybe just a little above that middle, I would say would be, if I was standing in this room, I might look right there at that wall. Okay, so put your vanishing point at where you are kind of looking from. That vanishing point is going to be used to create everything. So we're going to create the wall lines by connecting our ruler from the corner of this back wall to the vanishing point to create our wall lines. These should not go directly up to these corners, right? Everything is connecting from the corners we created on the back wall to the vanishing point. It's not supposed to necessarily be perfectly symmetrical. If you got everything perfectly centered, vanishing points perfectly centered, then yes, it would be symmetrical. But it all depends on where you're standing in the room. So I'm a little bit off to the right side, which is why some of these lines are higher and lower, and these ones aren't quite as steep looking, okay? It all is relative to your vanishing point. All right, if this were really an empty room, we would start probably with some windows, right? Egress code means you need windows in case of a fire. Anyway, we need some windows for safety reasons, right? And just because everybody needs windows. Okay, so the main thing is you really need to pay attention to getting your lines vertical. All the other lines that would normally be the tops and bottoms going from left to right are all going to be connected to the vanishing point. Okay? Otherwise, all the up and down lines need to be perfectly vertical. Okay? So, if I were going to have a nice big window, maybe the bottom of it would be about that tall and the top of it wouldn't go too high. So you want to kind of eyeball about the length of the window that you would want. And the easiest way to do that, I feel like, is by looking kind of over here on this back wall. It gives you kind of how tall the window will look on a regular wall. Okay? So once you get that height, then you can create the sides. I just like to do light lines that are very long and light, and then I will decide where I want my window to stop by creating another vertical line. And then I will erase the leftovers. Okay? If you want to hang any art or anything on this other wall across from this one, it would be done in the same way. Okay? So maybe I want to hang 3 different pictures here, and they're going to be starting at about right there. Well, I can get, if I want to hang them all in line with each other very lightly, I can create some lines on the top and bottom, and then I can make them kind of appear to get a little bit bigger. They're not really getting bigger, but as they get closer to you, they will appear bigger. Okay?